Shooters, you are now in your prep time. Your prep time has ended. With the magazine of 15 rounds making the addition one weapon. Is the line ready? The line is ready. Shooters firing 5 rounds in a time limit of 60 seconds. Stand by. Contact.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Pit Talk, pulling pits and opinions with your host, Gunny G. Follow, like, subscribe everywhere you get your podcasts and on all social media platforms. Let me know how I'm doing. Any criticism is good criticism. Let's get into it because you don't get paid to listen. I don't get paid to talk. I got a special guest hailing from Texas by the name of Joshua Salinas. Salinas, excuse me. Oh, goodness gracious, I said it in English. But anyways, 30 days fresh out the pen. We got to talk about transition. We got to talk about how we can help service members, period. Josh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Perfect. Hey, man, thanks for coming on. I appreciate your time. I know your time's precious with the baby coming in and a newlyweds with the new pregnancy. So I'm pretty excited for you. And just quick basic info, full name, how long you serve, where and why did you get out, and where you're located and what you do now.
Yeah, of course. My name is Joshua Salinas. I served 7 years active duty with the United States Air Force. Where I got out in Hill Air Force, Utah. I moved back to the Valley, McAllen, Texas. The reason I got out is because I wanted to do something new in my life, essentially a career change. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm going back to school full time to finish my bachelor's degree while doing a career change in IT.
Ooh, nice. What were you doing in Utah?
I was an aircraft armament technician, so I loaded bombs and stuff like that on F-16s and F-35s, stuff like that.
Did you go on any deployments?
Yeah, I went on one to the UAE. I know some people don't think of it as a deployment, but it is what it is.
It's overseas, so you'll be all right. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you tell any Marine that, you'll be like, vacation, more like vacation.
Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome. Hey, okay, so good. You're doing bigger, better things. Got it. Transition. Mm-hmm. Question for you: the biggest con that you faced in the first couple weeks, couple months of your transition from the service.
So, like, one of the biggest cons that I had to deal with was the lack of structure. Me, when I first got out, I thought, hey, my plan was to, go directly back into school. And, I had this plan set up, ready to go. But not everything, goes to plan, Mm-hmm. That was one of the hardest things, is trying to, find a job that could correlate to, something that I wanted to do for IT, which is really hard to do when you're just an aircraft mechanic.
Right.
So what I had to do was, gather my resources around the Valley and see what I could do with potentially getting certifications,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I had to look around, see what kind of resources there were here in the Valley, trying to get a vocational certification with, Cisco networking and stuff like that. And so it was pretty much kind of hectic not even just the first 30 days, it was the first, I want to say like 90 days. It was hard trying to reestablish myself in the civilian world, because it's a different beast. It's, all I knew, was military, that was my first job, was military, straight out of high school. Mm-hmm. So that was the hardest thing for me was, what can I do, instead of, just relaxing for, and trying to look for a job, what do I want to do,
Yeah. That makes sense, dog. I talk to a lot of service members that transition, and it's the same thing. Structure. Touch a little about the structure, man. Structure in terms of what, like waking up first thing in the morning, getting PT, go to work, lunch, come back, go to work, finish, and then do it all over again. Are you talking about that type of structure where it's just kind of repeat the entire time, or is it like the military life where you're gone, TDY, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're doing that, and the civilian sector is kind of slowed down, half pace, and you're kind of just trying to figure out how do I fit myself in? Is that what you're talking about?
So like when it comes to like the structure part, it's like, you know how in the military there is a big picture when it comes to the military. And then when you're in, you get at least a slight little picture of the big picture. You know, you have something to look forward to, essentially.
I get you.
So when you're working that day-to-day job in the military, you know that you have something that's, you know, that you're working for, you know at least a little bit of that big picture. Whereas when it comes to the civilian life, you don't necessarily have that unless you essentially know what you want and what you're, you know, what you want and what you're planning to get. You know what I mean?
Purpose. Are you talking about purpose? Like a bigger picture? Yeah. Okay. I get you. That's
so.
Did it affect your mental health or, you know, physical health when you first got out? Like, man, what am I doing?
Yeah, it honestly did, because when I first got out, it was like, all right, you know, I'm a veteran, you know, like I have these resources, but they don't really tell you that these resources are like, essentially, they're easy, but they're also a hassle to get. You know, like just because you're a veteran doesn't mean that you get this job right away, or doesn't make you qualified, you know, essentially for any certain positions, you know.
Yeah,
and it's kind of that mentality that I was getting denied multiple jobs just because I had experience, but I didn't have the degree, you know.
Interesting.
Or say if I had some certification, I didn't have the experience, you know. And I know that it's not just a veteran thing; it's a civilian thing as well. But for me, it was more of a veteran thing because, you know, I didn't have experience outside the civilian life, you know, working, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense, man.
So,
that it is a bit of a struggle, and you are in the same boat as many others that get out every single day. And I can only say that you're on here to help other service members from your experience, man. I gotta get to the next question.
Yeah.
You obviously did 7 years Air Force active duty. Are you doing any reserve time, or are you kind of just out? You're done.
Oh no, yeah, I definitely did. I'm doing some reserve time.
Okay.
Which definitely helped with the IT process. You know, career changing, that helped me open much more doors. They gave me, you know, free certifications, stuff like that. So that was one of my biggest fears, was getting out of the military altogether, all at once. I'm glad I did the reserves just to keep my foot inside the military in case I did want to go back.
Okay. That's good. So you're kind of slowly easing your way out instead of just kind of, you know,
getting out altogether.
Cold turkey. Yeah, that's good, man. That's smart, especially for guys and gals that go straight from high school and then get out after 4 or, you know, 8 years. You know, you served 7 years, and thank you for your service. I appreciate it. And I think others do as well. But, you know, there's pros and cons to everything. I think what's the biggest pro that you've seen so far from your transition from military service to the civilian sector? You know, things that you missed potentially, you know, in the last 7 years, or, you know, things that you're getting caught up with, things like that.
You know, essentially you get more of your freedoms back, you know, you have all this time in the world that you can use to either, you know, go for better, different educations, or, you know, learn something new. You know, you have this time to, you know, you don't have to wake up at 4:30 just to get to work at 6, you know, you can wake up whenever you want, essentially, you know, you have your own free time, you know?
Yeah. You're not reporting to the man, so to speak.
Yeah, you don't have to report, you know, unless you're on duty.
That's funny. You talk about duty. I might be on duty right now. I can't confirm nor deny that. But as far as a pro, I mean, we got to touch on it. There's got to be some bigger picture pros. I mean, you're obviously you're married, newlywed. Congratulations, February, right?
Yep.
And a baby on the way. So there's obviously some pros to, not saying that you couldn't do that where you were in, but
yeah.
what is another thing that maybe you can say, hey, like, hey, look, ladies and gentlemen, this is one thing that you're going to experience. That's a good thing, but this is what I'm experiencing here, and this is a pro for me. It might not be for you, but for me, it is.
Yeah, like I said, the biggest things are like the freedom and the flexibility that you get in the civilian world. You don't really get that when you are in the military. Like career path wise, I felt like it was much easier to do it outside while instead of working, that 12-hour plus job as a mechanic and then trying to go back to school at the same time. It's way easier to do it on my own free time,
Oh yeah, the flexibility. You're right. Actually, I mean, you're on the tarmac. So you're 12 on, 12 off. Is that what your schedule was?
It's usually 8, but you get those random 12s throughout the month. And it just comes out of nowhere, and then you're missing out on not just family time. You're missing out on career capability times. Like working or working on your career path, something that you can get, instead of just, staying in the military,
Yeah, that makes
something
sense.
to fall back on, essentially.
Plan B. I mean, I was talking to Johnny Vargas in the Army. He's talking about everybody needs an exit plan. I mean,
Yep.
And even if you stay in 20, you still need an exit plan because you're not going to stay in the rest of your life, right? You're not going to die in the Marine Corps or in the service unless, God forbid, something like that happens.
God forbid,
yeah. So I would say that flexibility is one. Here, let me throw this out to you, Josh. I would say that you have a lot of flexibility in the service and I'm not trying to recruit nobody. No, no virtual signaling here.
Yeah.
You served, I'm serving, so it doesn't really matter to us. But I think that for the listeners, I think flexibility is I think you have a little bit more flexibility. I think to agree with you, you got to report to the man. Sure, you might not report to the man while you're in civilian attire. But there's always somebody to report to. But I could understand the flexibility of the Monday through Friday, the monotonous 10 on or 8 on or 12 on or depending on your job. I could agree to that because I'm doing that now, and sometimes even on the weekend where knuckleheads are doing shenanigans, and now I have to report the shenanigans. So I can understand that. What's the again, thank you for your service. We all appreciate it. And everybody has different MOSs, different jobs, and we all do it, 100% to our capabilities. What's the biggest takeaway from the military service that you can apply to the civilian sector now?
That flexibility, I guess, being able to work with what you got, essentially. You make do with what you have.
You sound like a Marine, but I thought you were Air Force, dog.
Hey man, mechanics, Air Force mechanics, we're a different story.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
But, I say we make do with what we have. That's one of the best things I can take out of my military experience and use it in the civilian sector, because it's hard to essentially. How can I put it this way? It's just it's ingrained in us,
we adapt.
Yeah, it's the adaptability. It's the flexibility, like I said, the discipline that they give us, and and the leadership that they give us, and
we don't
leadership schools.
I agree, dog. We don't get any kudo points or any bonuses for initiative and going outside of our box. We kind of just do it. And in retrospect, I don't think, not all civilians are this way, but I think most jobs, if you hire me to clean toilets, that is all I'm going to do. Don't tell me to do anything else because you hired me to clean toilets. Right.
Yeah.
And that's not the case.
It's not in my job description. I'm not going to do it, kind of thing,
And that's not us, man. That's for service members across the board. I think we do our job so well that it requires us to think outside the box and do things outside the box, and especially for people that work on aircraft. Right. I won't say the good, the bad, the ugly, and things you're not supposed to do, but we adapt and overcome, I think, across the board as services. So I do agree, man. Hey, what's one piece of information a thing that you could have done differently in terms of transition the first 30, 60, 90 days of your transition from service?
One of the biggest things, I think, not just me, but I feel like everyone that gets out, that that piece of information that I can give out is networking. Networking is probably one of the best tools that I can suggest, because it works, being able to make professional connections throughout, not just the military, but like with other people that that have benefits, because they teach you that in TAPS, like, oh, connection this, connection that, but you don't really think about it like that, like, oh, like, okay, I'll talk to the one person that I know, and that's the end of people's networking, but you have to, you got to broadcast, you got to know, you got to try to know people to, they could have benefits for you, it's kind of like, trying to help you build, like, how can I say it, professional connections, but that'll help you with your career. That can help you with your career paths,
Yeah, that makes sense, dude. I think networking is different for the definition of networking is different for everybody.
Yeah.
But I think when we understand the root of it is you start networking the moment you come into boot camp, because you never met, you never met. I don't meet 90 dudes, right? For me in the Marine Corps, I'll never meet those 90 dudes again. And those are some long-lasting relationships, because when I see him again, I'll be like, dang, dog, you're still in or whatever. Oh, you got ADSEP, sucker, right? Things like that, right? We'll all talk trash to each other because we know we've been in the suck together, and nobody can – only a few can say that we've experienced that. And networking starts from the day you come in. And I think that is a good tool for your toolbox. If you're listening, networking is very important, especially in terms of transition, man. You talk about career paths, and I got to do this, I got to do that for my career, and I'm trying to progress, and those are all good things. But in order for you to progress, you have to know people, and you have to be relatable, and relationships are is a lifelong thing, right? And our world revolves around relationship, because look at you, you're married, yes?
Yep.
Networking with your wife, or some others would call it courting, right? Courting your wife, right? Or networking your wife. But either way, your relationship that you now you're established, now you have a baby coming away. That's another relationship that you got to build on, right? And so networking is important. If you're listening, service members, networking is it was one of the biggest tools for Josh, and I think it's a tool for everybody that they can use now while you're in. Be relatable, be impressionable, be professional, and those network connections will come at ease. Do you agree, Josh?
Oh, definitely.
I know that your time is precious, because you got to be taking care of the mama, and tell her I said hello and congratulations getting the baby. Hopefully, you said boy. Is it a boy or girl?
It's a boy.
A boy. That's right. Oh, is it Junior? Don't do it.
Nah.
Oh, thank God.
We'll put on the back burner, but
thank God. Don't do that to yourself. You already have a Junior family. Anyways, but yeah, October 7th, hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers. Let's hope that it's the same day. But lastly, service members, we know that there's a 22 a day. We know this, right? Mm-hmm. And we know that what they're dealing with is painful. And I think that we can agree that their outcome was their way to ease the pain.
Yep.
If you can provide something for them while they're listening, or somebody that's going through it right now, in terms of mental adversity and then resilience in terms of transitioning from the service, because sometimes it happens after we get out and not entirely when we get in, which is the crazy thing about us, right? With the structure, the camaraderie that we miss, I think that has an effect on us, right, as service members, because you can't get that in the civilian sector. Can you give them a tool for their toolbox? Say, look, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to go through it. This is what you need.
Yeah. One of the tools for adversity, for mental adversity and resilience is, mindfulness and, stress management techniques. That's all I can really say. It's because it is hard. Like, the unknown is hard, especially when you feel like you're by yourself, and it's going to feel like that because essentially you are by yourself, because you are now your own, essentially manager of your own life. Because now you're pretty much now you got to figure out what you need to do, what you have to do, and etc. So one of the things that I do recommend is getting with the VA or veteran group in general. There's some outside of the VA. There's some in universities that you can go to that are free to help with meditation, exercise, or support. And they definitely help me with my resilience. That's for sure. The one here at UTRGV, if you are here in the Valley, I do recommend it. If you're within the UTRGV area, they have it every Fridays. So if you guys are listening, that's something I recommend if you're here from the Valley. But if not, the VA does have a good support group. I know that there is a stigma that they don't, but I guarantee that there is. And if there isn't, there's Google. Don't stop.
Don't. Gunny Google has always, or Tech Sergeant Google, or right? Tech Sergeant, right?
Yeah.
Google has all the answers. Hey, look, ladies and gentlemen, the VA, there's always Marines, Army, Air Force, all services transitioning. We're all going through the same thing. The only way that we can help each other is if we stay connected. And I think Josh provides some good insight in terms of staying connected. Everybody transitions. Everybody struggles transitioning. Only we do. Only the few, the proud, right? I mean, the Marines. But in terms of services, we're less than 1% of the civilian populace, and we've all served, so we've all transitioned, and our stories can help each other out, and our experiences help each other out. Joshua, I thank you for taking the time to come on here and talk about transitioning from service to civilian. 30 days fresh out the pen with your freedom papers. Congratulations on the wife. Congratulations on the baby. If you ever need anything, just like you said, right? Networking, connections. You think you're alone, but you're not. If you're listening, you're not alone. Josh, how can, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, maybe some of your airmen or women, that listen to this podcast, how can they get a hold of you? Maybe they want some more information about transitioning.
Yeah, you can look me up on LinkedIn. I got a beautiful mustache, so I'm very noticeable. So there, you can look me up on Facebook too, Instagram, my Gmail. If you want to give that out, you can. I think that's fine too.
Thanks, Josh. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Joshua Salinas. I'll tell you how we know each other. He's my little cousin. He's out. He was an Air Force little soldier or airman, excuse me. And I had to get him on because I have to talk with all my sister branches, and you are my sister branch, quote unquote. Hey, Josh, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your experience, and I know that it's going to help others. And if you have anybody else that has a story to tell, send them my way. And don't forget
of course.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Pit Talk, pulling pits and opinions with your host, Gunny G. Follow, like, subscribe everywhere you get your podcast and on all social media platforms. Let me know how I'm doing. Any criticism is good criticism. We're service members, help service members, period. Ladies and gentlemen, we out.